Yeah, so continuation from my last video, take two. So continuation from my last video in reference to like me leaving the church and allowing the Holy Spirit to lead me. And after a while, I had started studying on my own, and I was already studying Black history, and something told me to go back to the beginning, which go back to Genesis. That's what I did. And a lot of stuff kept coming up to me as I was reading, and I was like, dang, I had got to the point where I was reading about King Solomon and King David, and I was like, I want that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Asking for all this stuff, and I had no idea that I would end up where I am today, asking for all those things. So I ended up going to another church, which was okay. It was a younger pastor, and you know how those younger pastors are. They be having the church lit and all that other stuff. So lit meaning having you have a nice time in there, because a lot of times I would say that our churches they are so big on entertainment, but it was still nice though. I learned a lot on my journey. I learned a lot, and I end up leaving that church because, like I said, it was just still something missing. So I was like, okay, I give up. I was working at this place where I was, in recovery a lot after the patients get procedures done. And I was just talking to God, and I was like, you know what? I want to learn more. Like, I want somebody to teach me about the word. So I ended up talking to someone, and they was telling me about a Bible college. So I was like, oh, okay. So this is meant to be. So I ended up going to Bible college, learning so much more and unlearning a lot. Yeah, so the more I learned, it's like the more I saw that I didn't know. And with the curriculum, um, we had to learn a lot of things. But I'm the one who, and there was another young lady in the class who was like the problem student. Um, but I did not go only by the curriculum. Like, I studied outside of what I was being taught in there. And I learned a lot. Like, looking into like who was getting the message at that time. When you go back to like, okay, during that time, who was let's just say Peter. Who was Peter talking to at that time? What message, or who needed to hear that message? Like, what were the customs during that time? Like, I went off the curriculum a lot, and I ventured out into other books. And I was like, because I was lining that up with Black history, and then when you get to the Egyptians, and then it was just so much. I was like, oh my gosh. It was like oh, but yeah, so I don't want to make this too long, but I did want to touch on that. I was also studying Black history and going to Bible college at the same time. So um I went to I went to the school for 4 years, and I obtained my degree. And when I got further and further into it, I was kind of turned off by a lot. And I was like, oh, okay. So, that doesn't mean I have to agree with everything. So I was just still trying to justify some things, and still kind of, in this mindset, this religious mindset. So I end up going back to the original church, and I'm talking about, I was in church all the time. I felt like that was my Moses moment, like going back to, do my job and do whatever the Lord was asking me to do. And I'm talking about, I was in the choir, I was like in church a lot, and I was like, so I was trying to be Ruth, you know, like I was trying to be somebody's Ruth. And after I got away from it, I'll say I really broke away from it during COVID. Like I was already like gearing away from it. But when COVID happened, it's like I had more time to study, more time to read this, read that, do this, do that. And I had realized so much. I started like questioning even more. And like, it's like my gifts were starting to sharpen even more. And, I had realized, like, after spending a little bit more time to myself, I had realized I had started to look at myself. And I was like, dang, like, I felt like, because at first, getting married and all that stuff, I really wanted to. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind now, but if I don't, I'm still good with that. But I realized the only reason why I wanted to be married, like, like making that a priority. I don't want to say my number one priority, but it was high on the list. And I realized I only wanted to do that because I didn't want to go to hell, and it's like I was just into so much anxiety, under depression, because it's like if I was so wrapped up in it at one point that I was like, you know what, if I can't live by every word in the Bible, and it's like I put so much on myself. I was trying to be perfect. I'm talking about, it was just like, it was so much. And it's like I had my own struggles, and it's like, oh my goodness, it was just too much. So, like I said, after leaving the church, I just started studying a whole lot more, and I just stopped. I just stopped everything, and I just had to get me together. Like, I truly had to get myself together because I couldn't go on the way I was going. And it's like life was just telling me, okay, you need to go down this path. But it's like you fight against that because you had been taught like so much in religion, like you got to be this way, you got to do this, you got to do that. And, your gifts are, to some people deemed evil, and the devil like to play tricks on your mind. And it's like you got all of this going on in your head, but you know what you see, you know what you feel, when you standing next to somebody, you see people behind them, like it's a lot. So I had to just stop everything, and I just slowly started just learning and just doing things. Like I just let it go. I didn't outwardly say it because I was still trying to process everything. Okay, am I down the right path? I was still kind of doubting, like maybe I am wrong, because oh, we need Jesus, don't question God and this. But forget it, I started questioning God. Like, look, what's going on? Because something got to give. But yeah, so that's my little story time for today. But yeah, I'll get more into my story. Like I said, this is my journey. If you still want to be in Christianity, that is your choice. But as of right now, in this part of my life, in this experience, that's not for me. And whoever come in my comments and say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, this is where I am now. I don't know if it is the right way. I'll end up down that path. But this is where I am now. So, yeah, until next time, you all be blessed.